humans meant to eat meat, plants, or both? It's one of the most controversial questions of our generations. Should we go vegan, vegetarian, or just keep eating meat? The true answer is wrapped up in millions of years of evolution, survival, and adaptation. Our story begins 2 million years ago. Under the blazing African sun, an early human ancestor pauses on the vast savanna. The air is thick with heat, and the distant calls of unknown creatures echo across the plains. He spots a peculiar object glinting among the rocks, a simple stone with a sharp edge. Driven by curiosity and perhaps desperation, he picks it up. Tentatively, he uses it to scrape meat from a carcass left by predators. In that moment, with that simple act, he ignites a dietary revolution that will forever alter the course of human evolution. From the treetops, where our ape ancestors feasted on fruits and leaves, to the modern kitchens, where we prepare elaborate meals and candies. What we eat has defined who we are. But how did this happen? How did the foods our ancestors consumed influence the development of our brains, the strength of our bodies, and even the way we interact with one another? In this exploration, we'll delve deep into the diets of our earliest ancestors, uncovering the pivotal moments that transformed our eating habits. We'll trace the journey from ape to human, from foraging to farming, from raw to cooked. We'll see how environmental changes forced adaptations, how the discovery of tools and fire revolutionized our menu, and how agriculture and modern technology have disconnected us from our dietary roots. So, are we herbivores, carnivores, or omnivores? By the end of this journey, we'll uncover the complexities behind that question, revealing how our evolutionary past holds the key to understanding our present, and perhaps even our future. Chapter 1. The Beginning. High up in the tangled canopies of ancient African forests, about 7 million years ago, life thrived in a verdant world teeming with sounds and scents. The australopithecines moved among the branches, their bodies perfectly adapted to an arboreal lifestyle. The forest was both their home and their larder, providing everything they needed to survive and flourish. Their diet was a vibrant tapestry woven from the fruits, leaves, and nuts that surrounded them. Every day is a feast of ripe figs, sweet berries, and succulent shoots. These early hominins were frugivores, fruit eaters, and their physical features reflected this. They possessed large, flat molars with thick enamel, ideal for grinding down fibrous plant material. Their powerful jaws and strong facial muscles allowed them to chew tough vegetation, extracting maximum nourishment from every bite. But it wasn't just their teeth. Their entire digestive system was geared towards processing plant matter. They had elongated intestines, providing ample time and space for fermenting and breaking down cellulose, a complex carbohydrate found in plant cell walls. This fermentation process released nutrients and energy essential for their survival. Despite their small stature, males stood around 4 to 4.5 feet tall and weighed between 90 to 110 pounds, while females were slightly smaller at 3.5 to 4 feet tall and 55 to 75 pounds. Their caloric needs were significant. Daily, they consumed approximately 1,200 to 1,800 calories. This might seem modest by today's standards, but for creatures constantly on the move, climbing and foraging, it was a constant quest to meet their energy demands. Their lives were intimately connected to the trees. Long arms and curved fingers allowed them to navigate the forest canopy with ease. This method of movement, known as brachiation, involved swinging from branch to branch, a mode of transport both efficient and energy-conserving in their three-dimensional world. Their feet, too, were adapted for grasping, providing stability and dexterity in the aerial environment. Looking at modern primates like chimpanzees and bonobos offers a window into our ancestors' dietary habits. These close relatives spend up to 8 hours a day foraging and eating. Fruits make up a significant portion of their diet, supplemented by leaves, seeds, and occasionally insects or small vertebrates for added protein. Gorillas, though larger and more ground-dwelling, consumed vast quantities of leaves and stems, reflecting an adaptation to different ecological niches within the forest. For millions of years, their lifestyle persisted. The balance between the australopithecines and their environment was stable. Their bodies were honed by evolution to exploit their niche effectively. There was little pressure for dramatic change until the environment itself began to shift. Around 2.5 million years ago, Earth's climate began a cooling trend. The African continent experienced significant ecological transformations. Dense forests gave way to more open woodlands and savannas. The once abundant fruits and leaves became less reliable as primary food sources. Trees were more scattered, and the treetop highways that once connected vast stretches of habitat were fragmented. Our ancestors faced a dire predicament. The familiar world that had sustained them was fading. Food scarcity became a pressing issue. The competition for resources intensified, not only among hominins, but with other species adapted to the changing landscape. Survival required adaptation, both physically and behaviorally. This period marked a critical crossroads in human evolution. The shrinking forests forced our ancestors to descend from the trees more frequently. To survive, they had to be resourceful. They may have relied more heavily on hardy, nutrient-dense foods like nuts and seeds that could be stored for lean times. Digging for tubers and roots, though labor-intensive, provided a reliable source of carbohydrates. Their dependence on a high-fiber, low-calorie diet meant that they had to consume large volumes of food to meet their energy needs. This required significant foraging time. Some estimates suggest up to 80% of their waking hours were dedicated to finding and eating food. Their large guts were necessary for processing this diet, but came at an energetic cost. Energy allocated to digestion was energy not available for other functions, like brain development. Indeed, the brain sizes of australopithecines averaged around 400 to 500 cubic centimeters, about a third of the modern human brain. While adequate for their needs, it limited their capacity for complex problem-solving and innovation. Their social structures were likely simple, relying on direct communication and basic cooperation. But spending all day looking for food in the forest wasn't enough. They had to spread out into the savanna. The open savanna presented a vastly different array of resources and dangers. Predators were more visible, but also more formidable. Shelter was scarce, yet the ground offered untapped food sources: tubers, roots, insects, and even carrion left by larger predators. The need to exploit these new resources drove evolutionary changes. Those who could adapt their diets and behaviors were more likely to survive and reproduce. Over time, natural selection began to favor traits that supported a more versatile diet and a terrestrial lifestyle. Necessity fueled creativity. Simple tools, like unmodified stones or sticks, may have been used to dig or break open hard-shelled foods. These early forays into tool use set the stage for a revolution in our dietary history. Yet, the challenges were immense. Raw meat and tough underground plants were difficult to chew and digest with teeth and jaws designed for softer, fibrous fruits. Consuming these foods placed new demands on their bodies. Those with slightly different dental structures or stronger jaws had an advantage. Over generations, these physical traits became more pronounced. Simultaneously, the cognitive demands of this new lifestyle increased. Finding and processing diverse food sources required problem-solving skills, memory, and social cooperation. The brain, despite its energetic costs, began to expand in those individuals who could meet these challenges. The simple act of picking up a stone tool, perhaps initially out of curiosity or desperation, would lead to profound developments. The incorporation of new foods into the diet, the refinement of tools, and eventually the harnessing of fire would all stem from these early adaptations. The hominins of this era, such as homohabilis, meaning handyman, exhibit adaptations suited for their new lifestyle. They stand slightly taller than their ancestors, with males averaging around 5 feet and females slightly shorter. Their body proportions shift, with longer legs and shorter arms, an indication of increased bipedalism and less reliance on climbing and swinging on trees. Their hands evolve too. More dexterous fingers and a stronger grip allow them to manipulate objects and develop primitive tools. The brain begins to expand modestly, reaching an average size of around 600 cubic centimeters. This growth hints at enhanced cognitive abilities, perhaps driven by the complexities of their changing environment. With rudimentary stone tools, flakes struck from river cobbles, they scrape meat from the bones, breaking them to access the nutrient-rich marrow inside. These tools are part of the Oldowan industry, some of the earliest known stone tools, dating back to about 2.6 million years ago. Simple yet effective, they represent a significant technological advancement. The ability to modify objects for specific purposes marks a turning point in human evolution. But who were our enemies? Who could harm us to our journey to Homo sapiens? Chapter 3. Enemies. As our ancestors ventured onto the open savannas, they were not alone. This new environment was teeming with life and danger. The very same factors that drew our ancestors out of the forests also attracted a host of formidable rivals and predators. These creatures posed significant threats, shaping the course of human evolution through competition and the ever-present risk of becoming prey. Several human species lived during this time, each adapted to the changing environment in their own way. Homohabilis, as mentioned in the previous chapter, was one of the earliest known species of the genus Homo. They lived in East Africa about 2.3 to 1.4 million years ago. Another contemporary species, Homo rudolfensis, which had a slightly larger brain and more robust features. One of the most iconic enemies of this time, saber-toothed cat, with its long, curved canine teeth and powerful build. This fearsome feline was a top predator. Saber-toothed cats were ambush predators, likely preying on large mammals such as antelopes, horses, and even young mammoths. They also scavenged when the opportunity arose, bringing them into direct competition with our ancestors. Another major threat came from hyenas. These opportunistic predators and scavengers were well adapted to life on the savanna. With their powerful jaws and ability to hunt in packs, they were formidable competitors for food. Hyenas had a diverse diet, including animals they hunted themselves, like antelopes and zebras, scavenged carcasses, and even bones and bone marrow. Lions, too, were a constant danger. As apex predators, they posed a direct threat to the survival of our ancestors. Lions are opportunistic hunters, capable of taking down large prey such as wildebeest, zebras, and buffaloes. They also steal kills from other predators, including hominins, when the chance arises. But predators were not the only enemies. Rival hominin species, such as Paranthropus, also inhabited the savannas. These robust, large-jawed hominins were specialized for eating tough, fibrous plants. Their diet likely consisted of roots, tubers, seeds, and nuts, foods that required powerful jaws and teeth to process. While not direct predators, they competed with our ancestors for resources. As the environment changed and certain food sources became scarce, this competition intensified. Even smaller creatures posed risks. Venomous snakes hidden in the tall grass could deliver deadly bites. Crocodiles lurked in the waterways, ready to ambush unsuspecting prey. These reptiles are opportunistic predators, feeding on a wide variety of prey, from fish to mammals that come to the water's edge to drink. But perhaps the most persistent enemy was the environment itself. The savanna was a harsh and unpredictable place. Droughts could wipe out food sources, leaving animals and hominins alike struggling to survive. Wildfires, sparked by lightning or drought, could sweep across the grasslands, destroying habitats and causing widespread destruction. In the face of these challenges, our ancestors had to adapt. They developed strategies to avoid predators, such as moving in groups and being vigilant. They learned to exploit new food sources, like marrow from scavenged bones, to sustain themselves when plant foods were scarce. They also began to use tools, like simple wooden spears, to defend themselves and hunt small game. These adaptations were not just physical, but also cognitive and social. The need to outsmart predators and compete with rivals likely drove the evolution of larger brains and more complex social structures. Cooperation, communication, and the ability to plan and strategize to get food became increasingly important for survival. But raw meat and tough plants were hard to digest, even with the use of tools. How did our ancestors overcome these challenges? Chapter 5. Fire. One night, as darkness envelops the land, a wildfire ignites across the dry grasslands, likely sparked by a lightning strike, but we don't know it for sure. Flames dance under the starlit sky, and the hominin group watches from a safe distance, mesmerized by the spectacle. The next morning, they cautiously approach the scorched earth. Amidst the charred landscape, they find animals caught in the blaze, their flesh cooked by the fire. Driven by curiosity and hunger, they taste the cooked meat. It's softer, richer in flavor, and, unbeknownst to them, safer to eat. This accidental encounter with cooked food sparks a transformative relationship with fire. Over countless generations, our ancestors learned to control this elemental force. They gather smoldering embers, feed them with dry kindling, and eventually master the art of creating fire themselves. Harnessing fire is arguably the most significant milestone in human history. Fire provides warmth, extending the habitable regions into colder climates. It offers protection, deterring nocturnal predators with its light and heat. But perhaps most importantly, fire revolutionizes the way we consume food. Cooking fundamentally alters food's nutritional landscape. Heat breaks down complex carbohydrates and proteins, making them easier to digest and unlocking nutrients that were previously inaccessible. For instance, tough cellulose in plants is broken down, and harmful microbes in meat are eliminated, reducing the risk of illness. The implications for human physiology are profound. With softer, easier to digest food, the need for large teeth and powerful jaws diminishes further. The human gut can become shorter and less energy intensive as less effort is required to extract nutrients from food. This energy surplus supports the growth of our most demanding organ, the brain. Sharing a meal around the fire became a communal event. It encouraged cooperation and strengthened social bonds. The hearth served as a focal point for storytelling, teaching, and cultural rituals. Mastering fire required knowledge and skill. Early humans needed to learn how to start fires, maintain them, and use them effectively for cooking and warmth. This knowledge was passed down, enriching cultural traditions and collective memory. One of the earliest methods to start a fire was probably fire plowing, where a pointed stick is rubbed quickly along a groove in another piece of wood, creating friction and heat until an ember is formed. This ember could then be placed in a bundle of tinder and blown on to create a flame. Another early method was percussion fire starting, which involved striking a piece of flint against a mineral rich in iron, such as pyrite or marcasite. The sparks created from this would be caught on tinder and blown into a flame, similar to the fire plowing method. As tool technology advanced, more sophisticated methods of fire starting emerged. The bow drill, for example, consists of a piece of wood, the drill, carved to fit into a socket in another piece of wood, the fireboard. The drill is spun rapidly back and forth using a bow, creating friction and heat. This method is more efficient than fire plowing or percussion and allowed for easier and more reliable fire starting and the ability to start a fire whenever you want. It is a huge advantage for survival. Anthropologist Richard Wrangham posited the cooking hypothesis, suggesting that the advent of cooking was pivotal in human evolution. He argued that cooking provided the extra energy needed to fuel the dramatic increase in brain size observed in Homo erectus and later Homo sapiens. Indeed, the brain, while accounting for about 2% of body weight, consumes approximately 20% of the body's energy at rest. Cooking made this energetically expensive organ sustainable. Our brains began to grow rapidly. Homo erectus saw significant increases in brain volume, reaching up to 1,200 cubic centimeters. This growth supported advancements in toolmaking, social structures, and communication. Moreover, fire enables our ancestors to manipulate their environment in new ways. They begin to use controlled burns to manage landscapes, encouraging the growth of certain plants and making hunting easier by driving game into predetermined areas. Keeping a fire burning involves constant attention, gathering fuel, protecting it from the elements, and ensuring safety. These tasks foster collaboration and shared responsibility within groups. As cooked food fuels larger brains and bolsters social cohesion, humans begin to explore new horizons. Their enhanced cognitive abilities and adaptability enable them to migrate out of Africa, venturing into Europe and Asia. They encounter diverse environments, from dense forests to icy tundras, and with fire, they are equipped to survive and thrive. With cooked food fueling larger brains, what was the next step in our dietary journey? How much easier could it get? Chapter 6. From hunter and gatherers to farmers, thousands of years pass, and human societies continue to evolve. Around 12,000 years ago, as the last ice age recedes, the Earth undergoes significant climatic changes. Temperatures rise, glaciers retreat, and sea levels stabilize. These environmental shifts create fertile conditions in regions like the Fertile Crescent, a crescent-shaped area spanning parts of modern-day Egypt, Turkey, Iran, and Iraq. During this period, the primary human species was Homo sapiens, our direct ancestors. By around 40,000 years ago, Homo sapiens had become the only surviving human species, following the extinction of other hominins like the Neanderthals and denisovans. Homo sapiens had emerged in Africa around 300,000 years ago and began spreading to other parts of the world around 70,000 years ago. They were anatomically modern humans with brain sizes and cognitive abilities similar to ours today. As Homo sapiens populations grew and spread, they diversified culturally and genetically. Different groups adapted to various environments, from the arid landscapes of the Middle East to the lush forests of Southeast Asia. This diversification led to the development of distinct cultures, languages, and physical characteristics. By the time the last ice age ended, around 12,000 years ago, Homo sapiens had populated most of the habitable regions of the Earth. They lived as hunter-gatherers, with diets and lifestyles adapted to their specific environments. In regions like the Fertile Crescent of the Middle East, the rich soils and abundant water sources created ideal conditions for plant growth. Early humans began to notice patterns. Seeds that spilled near campsites sprouted into new plants. The idea of cultivating plants took root. The transition from nomadic lifestyles to settled farming communities is gradual but revolutionary. People start cultivating wheat, barley, lentils, and other crops, selecting and replanting the seeds from the best yields. This selective breeding enhances desirable traits like larger grains and more robust plants. Domesticating animals follows a similar pattern. Hunters realize that certain animals can be tamed and bred for food, labor, and companionship. Goats, sheep, pigs, and cattle become integral to these early agricultural societies. They provide meat, milk, hides, and muscle power for plowing fields and transporting goods. Agriculture transforms human diets. Grains become staples, providing a dependable source of carbohydrates and calories. Milk and dairy products introduce new nutrients. With a steady food supply, populations grow rapidly. Settlements expand into villages and towns, some with populations in the thousands. This newfound stability allows for specialization. Not everyone needs to focus on food production anymore. Some become artisans, creating pottery, textiles, and tools. Others become traders, priests, or leaders. The concept of storage and surplus leads to the development of granaries and the ability to plan for the future. However, these advancements come with significant trade-offs. Relying heavily on a limited number of crops reduces dietary diversity. Archaeological findings indicate that early agricultural societies experienced more nutritional deficiencies than their hunter-gatherer predecessors. Skeletons from these communities show signs of anemia, stunted growth, and dental problems. Living in close proximity to domesticated animals introduces new health risks. Zoonotic diseases, those transmitted from animals to humans, become more prevalent. Smallpox, tuberculosis, and influenza are thought to have originated in this way. Epidemics can spread rapidly in dense populations, sometimes decimating entire communities. The environment also feels the impact. Deforestation for farmland leads to soil erosion, reduced biodiversity, and altered water cycles. Intensive farming practices deplete soil nutrients, necessitating the development of irrigation and fertilization techniques. Social structures become more complex and stratified. Ownership of land and resources leads to economic disparities. Wealth accumulates among a select few, giving rise to social classes and, in some cases, oppressive hierarchies. Conflicts over territory and resources become more common, leading to warfare on a larger scale than ever before. Yet, agriculture fuels progress. Written language emerges as a means of keeping records, tracking harvests, trade transactions, and laws. Monumental architecture appears, from the ziggurats of Mesopotamia to the pyramids of Egypt, reflecting sophisticated engineering and organizational skills. Cultural expressions flourish. Art, music, and religion become integral to community life. Philosophies and ethical systems develop, shaping the moral frameworks of societies. As humans settle into agrarian life, their relationship with the environment evolves. They become shapers of the land, for better or worse. The mastery over food production empowers civilizations to rise, but also introduces new vulnerabilities. One might wonder, was this the pinnacle of human dietary evolution, or did it steer us away from a more balanced existence? The convenience and security of agriculture undoubtedly propelled humanity forward, but at what cost to our health and the planet? Chapter 7. Modern diets. The dawn of the 20th century ushered in an era of unprecedented change. Cities burgeoned, technology advanced at a breakneck pace, and the way we lived, worked, and ate was transformed utterly. Our diets, once limited by the seasons and what we could grow or hunt locally, began to reflect an industrialized world, brimming with new possibilities. In the bustling streets of early industrial cities, convenience became king. The demands of factory schedules left little time for traditional meal preparation. Enter processed foods, canned goods, preserved meats, and later frozen dinners promised nourishment that was quick, affordable, and long-lasting. The discovery of preservatives like sodium benzoate and techniques like pasteurization revolutionized food storage, allowing products to be shipped over long distances without spoiling. As the decades rolled on, the food industry grew more sophisticated. The assembly line mentality spilled over into agriculture and food production. Artificial flavors and colors made foods more appealing. Emulsifiers improved texture. Sweeteners enhanced taste. Supermarkets stocked their shelves with an ever-expanding array of packaged goods. These items were engineered to be palatable, with just the right balance of salt, sugar, and fat to keep consumers coming back for more. Fast food emerged as a symbol of modernity and efficiency. The first fast food restaurants promised meals in minutes, a stark contrast to the time-consuming preparation of home-cooked food. Burgers, fries, and shakes became staples, their ubiquity fueled by aggressive marketing and the allure of instant gratification. However, these advances came with hidden costs. Processed and ultra-processed foods are often high in refined sugars, unhealthy fats, and sodium, while being low in essential nutrients. The removal of fiber and beneficial compounds during processing diminishes the nutritional value of these foods. Additives and preservatives, while extending shelf life, can have adverse health effects when consumed in excess. Moreover, the portion sizes increased dramatically. What was once considered a large serving became the new normal. Sugary beverages replaced water and milk at mealtimes. Snack foods designed to be irresistible encouraged constant grazing rather than mindful eating. Our modern diet diverges sharply from that of our ancestors. Where they consumed whole foods, fresh fruits, vegetables, lean meats, and whole grains, we now often rely on products that bear little resemblance to their natural origins. The human body, honed over millennia to process unprocessed foods, struggles to adapt to this sudden shift. The consequences are evident. Obesity rates have skyrocketed globally, affecting both developed and developing nations. In the United States alone, over 40% of adults are classified as obese. This epidemic extends to children, raising concerns about future generations' health. Alongside obesity, diet-related illnesses have surged. Type 2 diabetes, once rare, has become commonplace. Heart disease remains a leading cause of death worldwide. These conditions are often linked to diets high in saturated and trans fats, excessive sugar, and sodium, hallmarks of processed and fast foods. Research has illuminated how these foods can trigger inflammatory responses, disrupt hormone regulation, and alter gut microbiota, all contributing factors to chronic disease. The rise in autoimmune disorders and certain cancers has also been connected to dietary patterns. Our sedentary lifestyles exacerbate the problem. With advancements in technology, physical activity has decreased. Many of us spend our days seated, at desks, in cars, on sofas, burning fewer calories while consuming more. This imbalance strains our bodies, leading to weight gain and metabolic disorders. Furthermore, the globalized food system poses ethical and environmental concerns. Industrial farming practices often rely on monocultures, heavy pesticide use, and intensive livestock production, which contribute to soil depletion, water contamination, and greenhouse gas emissions. The environmental footprint of our modern diet is significant, raising questions about sustainability. So, what can our evolutionary past teach us about eating today? Chapter 8. Back to the roots. As we navigate the complexities of modern life, there's a growing impulse to look backward for guidance. The concept of an evolutionary mismatch suggests that many of our current health issues stem from a disconnect between our ancient genetic makeup and our contemporary environment and lifestyle. Our bodies evolved to thrive on diets rich in whole foods, lean meats, fish, nuts, seeds, fruits, and vegetables. These foods provided a balance of macronutrients and micronutrients, fueling active lifestyles that included hunting, gathering, and continuous movement. The Paleolithic era, spanning from approximately 2.5 million to 10,000 years ago, is often romanticized as a time when humans lived in harmony with nature and enjoyed robust health. This notion has led to the popularity of the paleo diet, which advocates for a return to eating like our hunter-gatherer ancestors. Proponents of this dietary approach argue that by eliminating processed foods, grains, legumes, and dairy, items they claim our ancestors didn't consume, we can reduce inflammation, lose weight, and improve overall health. The emphasis is on whole, unprocessed foods that are nutrient-dense and minimally altered from their natural state. While the paleo diet has helped some individuals adopt healthier eating habits, it's not without criticism. Anthropological evidence suggests that our ancestors' diets were highly varied and adapted to their local environments. Some populations consumed grains and legumes, others relied heavily on marine life or starchy tubers. The ketogenic diet, which is high in fat and very low in carbohydrates, has also gained attention in recent years. By drastically reducing carbohydrate intake, the keto diet aims to induce a metabolic state called ketosis, where the body burns fat for fuel instead of glucose. Some studies suggest that the keto diet can lead to weight loss, improved blood sugar control, and reduced risk of certain neurological disorders like epilepsy. However, the diet can be challenging to maintain long-term and may have potential side effects like nutrient deficiencies, digestive issues, and increased risk of kidney stones. Another dietary approach that has gained attention in recent years is the carnivore diet, which takes the low-carb concept to an extreme. As the name suggests, the carnivore diet consists almost entirely of animal products, eliminating not just grains and legumes, but also fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. Proponents of the carnivore diet argue that by eating only animal-based foods, we can avoid the potentially harmful compounds found in plants, such as lectins, phytates, and oxalates. They claim that this way of eating can lead to improved digestion, reduced inflammation, and better overall health. It's important to note that while the keto diet and carnivore diet may have therapeutic applications for certain health conditions, it's not necessarily a reflection of our ancestral diets. Our Paleolithic ancestors likely consumed a moderate amount of carbohydrates from sources like fruits, vegetables, and tubers, rather than the very low levels prescribed by the keto diet. Moreover, there's no one-size-fits-all solution. Genetics, metabolism, lifestyle, and personal health conditions mean that dietary needs vary greatly among individuals. What works for one person may not work for another. The idea of a single magical diet overlooks this complexity. Instead of strictly adhering to a prescribed set of foods, many experts advocate for a more flexible approach informed by ancestral wisdom and modern science. The focus is on whole foods, fresh fruits and vegetables, whole grains, high-quality proteins, and healthy fats. This includes a variety of plant-based foods that provide fiber, vitamins, minerals, and phytonutrients essential for health. Scientific research supports the benefits of diets rich in whole foods. The Mediterranean diet, for example, emphasizes fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, nuts, and olive oil, with moderate fish and poultry consumption. Studies have linked it to reduced risks of heart disease, stroke, diabetes, and certain cancers. Understanding our evolutionary past can guide us in making dietary choices that align more closely with our biological needs. Our ancestors were in constant motion, and while modern life often entails prolonged sitting, integrating movement into our daily routines supports metabolic health and overall well-being. Attention to food sourcing is also crucial. Opting for sustainably produced, locally grown foods reduces environmental impact and supports community agriculture. Acknowledging the evolutionary mismatch encourages us to reflect on how we live and eat. It's not about rejecting modernity, but integrating the best of the past with the advancements of the present. By doing so, we can address the root causes of many health issues rather than merely treating symptoms. As we face contemporary challenges, perhaps the wisdom of our ancestors can illuminate a path forward. By embracing a holistic approach to eating, one that respects our biological heritage while accommodating individual needs, we can nourish ourselves in a way that promotes health, harmony, and sustainability. I can't tell you what foods you should eat. I only want to give you suggestions and teach you the way of our ancestors. If you found this exploration of our dietary evolution fascinating, you'll love our next video on From Apes to Human. There we dive deeper into how we transformed from tree-dwelling primates to the innovative, complex beings we are today. Click here to continue the journey. If you found this video interesting, share it with your friends and subscribe the channel. Thank you for watching.